Hello friends, I'm Mamta Rupesh, your Vedic Maths coach from the VedicMaths.com. Welcome to our weekly podcast, Learn, Teach and Grow with Mamta Rupesh. In today's podcast interview, we have our guest, Vaishnavi Srinivasan ma'am, who is the Executive Director of Bhumi. Bhumi is a volunteer organization. Bhumi has mentored and assisted thousands of students as well as their families for better well-being. Over 33,000 volunteers have been involved this year. Bhumi has changed the lives of many children, and the best part is Bhumi provides free education to orphans. We have discussed on more topics like how to develop children's behavior in the right form, what are the challenges faced by children who's trying to get an education, how can all of us contribute a small effort to make a big change in someone's life. And friends, Vaishnavi ma'am has given beautiful tips for young minds. It is great to see young people joining hands and making a difference in people's lives. This podcast has thoroughly inspired me, and I'm sure it will inspire you to take some action to help people. Please do listen to this podcast till the end. Let's begin. Yes. Hi, ma'am. A warm welcome to our weekly podcast, Learn, Teach and Grow with Mamta Rupesh.
Hi, Mamta. Good afternoon. Thank you so
Very
much
good
for having
afternoon.
me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for accepting our podcast invite.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. Friends, we have Vaishnavi ma'am, who is an executive director at Bhumi. So yes, thank you so much, ma'am. And friends, Bhumi is a volunteer organization. So yes, we have 33,000 plus volunteers who have joined Bhumi. Yeah. And friends, Bhumi means our motherland, isn't it? The meaning of Bhumi is motherland. So how we take care of our mother and motherland is what the Bhumi organization is doing. So it's so exciting to have you here, ma'am.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And in today's podcast, the topic is join hands with Bhumi to make a difference and meaningful life for everyone. Yes, ma'am. Please tell a few words about Bhumi and about yourself.
Sure. Bhumi is one of India's largest non-profit organizations where we mobilize volunteers as change makers for society. We work in education. We work with over 20,000 children across the country. We run a volunteer-driven program at shelter homes, which means that if you're anyone who's under 30 willing to contribute a few hours to teach at a shelter home, you can sign up with us. We also run education programs in urban slum communities. We run a fellowship in low income schools. What do we do beyond education? We also mobilize volunteers for like-minded organizations such as Bhumi. So if you're interested in animal welfare or environment and would want to give a few hours of your time every weekend, every month at your pace and convenience, it's a great platform to be a part of. I started off as a volunteer almost 15 years back when I just graduated. I was looking to do something, and that's when Bhumi happened. It just caught off as a very casual thing, where I was going every weekend to teach at an orphanage. I created my own community. I was able to interact and meet like-minded individuals, interact with and meet like-minded individuals. And even before I realized it became very addictive. This is what I wanted to do. And in 2012, I transitioned into a full-time role in the organization. Since then, I have had the opportunity to head different programs in the organization. I also fundraise, I've worked with corporates, I manage the donor relations, a bit of communications. But most recently, what I'm doing right now is running the Bhumi Fellowship, which is a 2-year fellowship program for young individuals who want to come into education as a long-term opportunity, not just something that they can do in their free time, but also commit to doing something greater. And I'm also managing the social emotional development program for children and educators.
Very nice, ma'am. So friends, the best part is Bhumi organization, they give free education to children, isn't it, ma'am? So very nice.
Yeah.
So I
So,
would also love to join Bhumi because I'm like, as a Vedic Maths tutor, so I would personally want to teach students there.
absolutely, it's such a joy being with children,
Yes,
and particularly when you do it with a lot of passion and not really expecting monetary benefits in return. I think it's more joyful. Yeah.
yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So what are the challenges faced by children who's trying to get an education, ma'am?
Hmm. So because we work in with primarily with low income communities, some of the challenges that I'm going to be talking about will be true to that community.
Yes.
One simple example is if we can, because COVID is still very alive in the air, it's something that all of us are still talking about. If I were to take the context of COVID, over 82% of children lost their ability to, speak a language or work with language itself because they did not have access to technology. A lot of children from privileged communities, our homes did have a digital device. They had a smartphone or they had an iPad, and luckily they had two devices. But the
Yes.
children that we work with don't even have one device. So the parents probably have a button phone, or they might have one smartphone, which usually the parent tends to carry off when they go to work. So our biggest challenge here in the context of education or COVID was children not having access to digital devices. But other than that, apart from COVID, generally, it also so happens that children lack opportunities or resources and lack the exposure to create that sense of possibility in them. Children from privileged communities, we're constantly talking about what they can be, the different books that they can read, or being part of a peer group that they can learn from, and all the additional number of classes that they can go to after school hours. But our children are so cut off from these opportunities, because they probably cannot pay for these classes, B, probably because they don't even know such opportunities exist. And it is not to say that they're not being cared for. They have amazing, very invested parents, but because of the social economic conditions that they come from, they're completely cut off from these opportunities. So for us at Bhumi, it is really important that we provide that holistic approach for children. Look at not just inculcating that curiosity or stimulating them intellectually, but also how can you create a space for them to physically nourish themselves, in terms of games or sports that they can learn, looking at their social emotional development, because for them, how many of us ask our children, how are you feeling right now, or are you upset about it? So giving that space for them to be in touch with their emotions, for them to even know that there are so many emotions. It's not just angry, happy, and sad.
Yes.
So we create that holistic space. We've been working on creating that holistic approach for all our children.
Yes, ma'am. Very nice. Well said. So, friends, see, we have lots of kids. So, as we are blessed with everything, we want those kids also to be blessed. So, very nice, ma'am. Just love the organization. And I, visited your page and saw the posts and comments, and how your people are helping students is really nice. Very nice, ma'am. So, what role does education play in preparing future generation?
Yeah. So when we talk about future generation and what we want our children to be, I think it's largely technical. Wanting our children to use the internet or use a phone, or they should be able to code, has become so important these days. But for us, the focus is also to create aware children, people who know themselves first, know who they are, know how they feel, and what is the impact that I have on each other in the community also. Something as simple as not bullying your friend, not body shaming each other,
Yes.
giving respect for gender. So these are some it might seem very complex topics, but when you need to start young. And for us, that is exactly what we do through our conversations. For us, we believe that the future generation should have not just those 21st century skills, but also be more socially conscious.
Yes.
So during Danutsav, which is India's festival of giving, between October 2nd and October 8th, we encourage our children to be part of small acts of giving. You might think that I shared that all of our children from low income communities, what can they possibly give is probably one question that might come up in your head. But the concept of Danutsav itself is to say anybody can give, and it can be in terms of not just money, it can be effort, it can be time, it can be love, care, and compassion. So encouraging children to volunteer also becomes a critical aspect. So what we see our children, what we see the future is, more self-aware individuals, people who know themselves and people who are able to connect with each other as a community for a more harmonious society also, where there is no competition. I think it's very important to talk about values such as ownership and collaboration in our children, because
Yes.
until school it gets very competitive. We're talking about how much has our neighbor's child scored, how much has your friend scored, but suddenly when they enter corporates, all they hear is team building and team connections. How can the child learn to collaborate if all you've taught them is to compete? So
Yes.
for us, the future generation should also be able to collaborate. So as Bhumi as an organization, we also, it's beyond preaching. We are actually engaging in these practices. Our platform is open for any like-minded NGO. So if you're part of an NGO and if you need volunteers, please reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to mobilize volunteers. So, and that's one of the ways in which we demonstrate collaboration. And that's our dream for our children also.
Yes, ma'am. Very nice. So, as you said, our kids also should know how the future world is. So, even I have a little one, she's a girl child, and we want her to know a lot more other than our regular education or the curriculum. So, school side, they regularly learn their school curriculum. So, that is there within them. So, what next? How should they come out of that? How should they know how the world is? So, that is what we have to give our kids, ma'am. So, yes, very true. And we want her to start helping others. So whenever we take her out, we show people whom to help, whom not to help. So there are people who are really in need, and like every Saturdays we take her to temples and we start giving some foods to the people who are in need. So we do all that with her, so and she should also know how the world is and how the helping hand should be. So that's great about your organization, ma'am. And uh, after lockdown, most of the parents are back to their work now. So that's become a very difficult part where they, I mean, to handle their work life as well the kids at home. So your advice on that, ma'am, and where parents are lacking.
I wouldn't say lacking, because raising a child is so, it's such a duty in itself.
Yes.
And you also have to be quite selfless to be able to raise a child. And it's not very easy to state in words. And being a mother, I'm sure you know that also. Every caregiver, mother, father,
Yes, ma'am.
doesn't matter. I think what is important or what can be better these days is the space for conversations. When I was growing up, I remember having so many conversations at dinner, and I am from a joint family, and it's a huge family. I had my uncles and aunts and parents sitting together and talking to us about everything. There was no taboo topic. And I think that has significantly contributed to who I am as a person. So creating that space for conversation is important. Absolutely. I mean, you need device time. You want your children to have that exposure. It's okay to limit, do it in moderation. Have 30 minutes on devices. It's absolutely fine. But what we can consciously say is probably 30 minutes when we're having dinner, we're not going to be on our devices, because that is the biggest challenge that I'm seeing right now. Even at home, right? We try and emphasize that 45 minutes or 1 hour, you do have that one block of time where you're actually committing to each other. And that becomes more important, talking about what happened in school or at work. And the second aspect is also to treat children as adults. Not to say that the child might not understand, the child might not know. They know very well when the parents are getting into an argument, they know that something is not right. And instead of saying, okay, all is well, everything is going great, I think it's okay to say that Amma and Appa are fighting. It's absolutely okay.
Yes.
So treating that child as a child of that age becomes important. And it's only in creating, giving them that space to be who they are, it becomes a lot more easier. And I think these are some repercussions of COVID, where we've lost touch with the family as one unit itself.
Yes.
So if we can be a little more conscious and try doing what our parents did with us, try doing what our grandparents did with us, I think that's going to be helpful. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Very true. So, as you said, we have lost sitting with parents and talking. That half an hour conversation is seriously not there. The two kids are always with their TV, YouTube. They want to sit and watch one or the other video while eating. So, that's really a great message. Thank you for that. And if you had one piece advice to the children, especially the teenagers, what would it be, ma'am? And how they can contribute back to the society?
Mm. This is not an advice. I'm not that old to advise children, but
Okay.
this offering would be to volunteer. I think I
Yes.
started off volunteering only at 21. I probably should have done that earlier when I was in school itself. These days, schools are a lot more open to volunteering,
Yes.
taking children on turtle walks, talking to them about environment. Why? I mean, we all are aware of the hazards of plastic, but then making small lifestyle decisions, being conscious about what you consume is also important. Not wanting to make children consumerists, right, is also so important as consumers. Not to buy a toy every time that they step out of the house, not to buy clothes every time that they're out. So I think instilling that sense of responsibility in our children through volunteering as a first step can be a game changer for all of us, for the planet. So I would strongly recommend create that exposure every Saturday, every Sunday. Instead of going to a mall, why don't you go to an animal shelter? Why don't you go to Blue Cross? Why don't you go to Be Mad and spend some time with those animals there? That will build compassion in children. Another week it can be to a shelter home to spend some time with children, so that they see what they have and what some children don't have access to. And that again is going to build that will to be able to bridge certain inequities or certain gaps in society. So I think that's a great place to start with. There is no age for volunteering. When I used to volunteer almost 10 years back at a tree park, I've seen little children coming in with their parents to weed and to plant saplings and to water saplings. So there is no age to volunteering. And like at connecting with what I had shared earlier, treating them like adults and getting them to make their own choices also is important. So that would be my only offering. Learn more about society. Be open to what is happening around us. There is a bubble. I mean, do not live in that bubble. There is so much beyond that one device, that one cell phone, or this laptop that you're actually watching this program on. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Very
you, ma'am.
true, ma'am. Very nice. And seriously, you are an inspiration, ma'am. I can, literally see that in you. So the words and the way you're conveying things is really nice. And like,
Thank you, ma'am.
what are the services? What are the services there in NGO, ma'am? So you guys give free education, and you're also, clean and serve the society. So how does it work? And how can people come and
So
join in?
So I think Bhumi as a platform, like I mentioned, is for anybody to volunteer. Bhumi.ngo, bhumi.ngo is our website. You can visit the link to see what are the different areas in which we work and how you would like to commit. Because what we have learned with time and experience is also that each of us has very different priorities. We have very different timelines, and availability is very different. You cannot standardize it. So based on your availability and interest, what you would like to be a part of, it can be environment, it can be education, whatever you want to do, we'll be able to provide opportunities for that. So register on the website, however old you are, like I said, and we will share opportunities as they come up, and you can join us in these volunteering spaces and take that first step. Now, I would also like to take this opportunity to say that it's not just with Bhumi. It can be with any organization.
Yes.
So I don't want to say that you have to volunteer with only Bhumi.
Yes.
There's so many organizations. You could be, watching this program from any part of the corner. I mean, any part of the country. So connect with an NGO, with a local NGO that is rooted in solving one particular problem that really connects with you also.
Yes.
And I'm sure that that interest will build automatically. I pick children because I enjoy being with children, and that energy that you get with, with just being with them is something invaluable. So pick a cause and pick an NGO. We're more than happy to offer opportunities through Bhumi also. So for one last time, the website is www.bhumi.ngo. That's the link that you can connect on.
Yes, ma'am. Very nice. So friends, I would personally request each one of us to, as ma'am said, not only Bhumi, there are many organizations. So we'll have to just join in, start helping, and it will improve. And yes, ma'am, as you said, we are in Bangalore and you're put up in Chennai. So in Bangalore, there are organizations. So for example, there's an organization called Youth for Parivartan. So as how Bhumi is serving, similarly, Youth for Parivartan guys, all are youngsters. And as you said, on weekends, they go on Saturdays and Sundays. So they all are working in corporates, teaching in different fields, but they spend those 2 days and they, pick up certain spots. If the spot is not clean, they come, they clean it, they decorate, the drawings are done on the roads. And at the same time, they go to the orphanages, they go to the schools, underprivileged schools. So they go there, they start, helping in the form of cash or in the form of services. So they do a lot of things. So one organization is that, and most of the areas have their welfare associations. So we have a Frasertown Youth Welfare Association, and there's another one too. So even they do the same thing. And recently, all these three groups, they clubbed together and they did some events also. So cleaning and all that. So yes, ma'am, I'm really interested and shortly will join your organization.
Thank you, Mamta.
Yes, ma'am. So yes, this session was really awesome, and it was very informative to know more on Bhumi, and at the same time, helping is very important in our life. So friends, by helping a little, we can make change in someone's life. So yes, it's a pleasure having you here, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mamta. Wish you the best, and
Thank you so
everybody take care. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.